Today I'll show you how you can assemble the Specter DIY hardware wallet yourself. The hardware wallet can be built entirely from standard off-the-shelf electronic components. A quick note, this tutorial is specifically about the basic Specter DIY in the Snapcase, and not about advanced versions like the Specter Shield Lite or the Specter Shield. Alright, let's start with the materials we'll need. First, we have the disco board. Then the QR code scanner. When you order it, it always comes with the scanner included, along with a small board, a micro USB cable, and a cable like this. And we need these kinds of pins. You can also make them yourself from these strips, which you can simply order. Then, using a pair of pliers specifically like these, you can carefully remove and gently bend them into the desired shape. We also need to consider but we only need the compact mini USB cable just this one single time, specifically to initially flash the disco board, that is to say, to load the essential Specter software onto its internal memory. And of course, we also absolutely need a protective case like this one, which is known as the Snapcase. The two primary electronic components are standard, readily available parts that you can conveniently purchase from various reputable manufacturers. I'll include the shopping list from the Specter DIY GitHub repository for you. In the video description below, you'll find links where you can buy them. You can also buy the pins somewhere as these little things and then bend them into shape later. You might already have a cable like this at home, or you can just buy one somewhere. And as for the case, you'll actually need to print it yourself with your 3D printer if you have one. Or if you know someone who has one, you can ask them if they can print it for you. Or you can buy it from a service that offers 3D printing. The files are definitely open source, and you can also find them in the repository. What I don't want to withhold from you is that everything you see here, so all the parts you need to build your Specter DIY, everything you see here, you can also buy as a kit. And that's in my own shop, ClavaStack, formerly known as the BTC Frankenstein shop, where you will find all these parts. Even the pins are already pre-bent, so you won't need any pliers or anything like that anymore. You can just assemble everything easily and without stress. As I said, you'll find the link down in the video description. Let's move on to the tools. You'll need a Phillips screwdriver and possibly some pliers if you have the pins in those strip forms. What else we'll need is a laptop to load the software onto it, or a PC. And what I would recommend is to have a power bank. With that, you can always use it easily without having to connect the device to the PC. But now let's get to the assembly. For that, we'll first unpack the disco. We can set the packaging aside. And now the first thing we'll do is load the software onto it. I'll clear away the unnecessary things here so it's a bit tidier. First, we'll need the mini USB cable. And now we will proceed to connect it to our personal laptop or desktop PC. And up here to our disco board. So now I'll show you how to download the software. For that, we go here to Specter Solutions. Click on Hardware at the top, and here we can download the firmware. We'll be redirected to the GitHub page. I'll also put the link for you down in the video description. Here we always find the latest version at the top. In this case, it's version 1.9.0. If there's a newer one, of course you can download that as well. What we need now is the initial firmware file. We can find it here under Flashing on Empty Board, and we simply download it. So please proceed to click on the Save button, and at this point we have successfully downloaded our file. This file is now available on your system. Furthermore, we also require this specific directory, which is essential and originates directly from our disco board. That also opened automatically for me when I plugged in the device. It looks like a USB stick directory. And now we just need to copy the downloaded file into it. I'll open the downloads folder as well, so we have both open here. And now we can simply drag the initial firmware file in to install the software. Here's a quick note in case you want to verify the initial firmware again, just to make sure it really comes from Specter. I've recorded a full tutorial for you on how you can do this quite easily without using the terminal. you can verify everything with the Sparrow wallet. You'll find the link up here on the right. But for now, we're going to keep it simple and straightforward and just drag our file into the directory like this. So just copy it over, and now you can see it's already downloading. And red protection, press the power button to reboot. Looks like everything worked just fine. What we'll do now is unplug it once, and then we can plug it back in. But we actually don't need to connect it to our laptop anymore. We've already downloaded the software. Instead, we can also connect it to our power bank so that it's completely offline from everything. Devices that are connected to the internet, a bit emptier. This is what it looks like now. We can now choose our pin code if we want. But for this tutorial, I won't set one and we'll just click Next twice. Perfect, looks good. I'm going to unplug it now. And what we're going to do now is change the power supply. Currently, it's running here via the mini USB. But we can also use it via micro USB. To do that, we need to change this pin up here. Specifically, pull it out and plug it in one slot lower. I hope you can see it. Move this pin to the very bottom slot. Then, the power supply will then switch from the mini USB at the top to the micro USB at the bottom. Let's proceed to thoroughly test that particular aspect as well. For the purpose of this comprehensive test, we will carefully retrieve our essential micro USB cable from its original packaging. We should meticulously unpack it right here, ensuring everything is ready for the upcoming procedure. We no longer require the mini USB cable at all anymore, so instead we will proceed to plug in our device. Micro USB cable. And as we can see, it works just the same. All right. Now that we've nicely flashed the software, it's time to start assembling everything. So the very first thing we're going to do is open up the Snapcase. If you already possess it in this particular manner, you can simply proceed to carefully open it up with just a little bit of gentle, steady force. As you can probably already tell, this is precisely where the scanner unit is intended to be placed. Let's take a moment to unpack that as well and explore its features. And later on, this will go in here like this. But before we do that, we need to remove the unnecessary screws that are usually still attached. We won't need them later on. I'm just going to put them in the cardboard box for now. We won't need them later. And just to clarify, I'm talking about the white screws here. There are also black screws. Those will be important later. All right. And here, when you remove this screw, you need to be careful. In this case, that's just happened. This cable has slipped out a little here, but we can just put it back in right away. It's not a big deal if that happens. What's important is that you notice it, because otherwise later on the QR code scanner might not work for some reason, and then you'll have to open it up again. So make sure here that the cable is still in place. Or I'll show you in a moment how you can put it back in properly. What we're going to do first is unscrew the black screws on the other side. And it's important here, we still need those. So don't lose them under any circumstances. Keep them safe. All right, now the scanner should be hanging from this cable. And as I said, for me, it came out easily this time. To put it back in, you need to lift this little tab here, which we have here, once upwards. So if you can see that, and then you can slide the cable back in as it was before with the blue side facing up. Slide it back in. Then you just need to gently press this tab back down into its proper position and it will be securely fastened once again, allowing you to smoothly continue with the assembly process. Now we take our case, our middle section, and we can insert the scanner here. You see, it fits perfectly. With a bit of force, gentle force, we can push it in. And here too, you can use a bit of gentle force to really snap it into place so that it sits nicely inside. We can just put it in here now. Let me show you what happens if you accidentally disconnect the cable at the bottom. Of course, you can fix that as well. Down here you have a little tab that we can open. And then we can carefully put this particular cable we have here back in its proper place. And then close it again. But that's only in case something accidentally comes loose. Now we can just put the QR code scanner in here. It's important that you do this very gently. If you press too hard here, it could cause a cable to slip out. Of course, we don't want that. Then we can screw in the screws that we carefully set aside. So right here, we can see it fits perfectly. If we take it out again, we can see there are holes here. The scanner has holes, and we can secure it very well there. Number 2. This is how it should look now. And what we can do now is to simply attach our essential cable securely. This component was also carefully placed in the box, so it is important to insert it with the studs facing directly up. And now, with careful consideration, we need to precisely route the various cables accordingly. Here, we will carefully position the vibrant green and bright yellow cables towards the left side, guiding them smoothly along their path. Conversely, the deep blue and rich purple cables will be routed in the opposite direction, extending them gracefully to complete the necessary connections. And now we'll thread them through here on the right side. So blue and purple up here. Like this. And then on the other side with green and yellow. So now once more through here. So yellow and green on the right side, once more through, but not any further, just up to there. And carefully thread the vibrant blue and rich purple through symmetrically on the other side as well. This is how it should look now. And now we can put this board we've just built onto our disco board. So just as I showed, press it on once, and we can see here are the 4 pins we need, still free. Depending on the specific kind of protective case you ultimately choose to use, you might potentially run into some minor problems here and may indeed need to apply a little bit more deliberate pressure. And these particular components here, they most definitely should not bend or deform in any way, even if you happen to use a considerable amount more force. If necessary, if something is blocking, you might have to cut it off with a pocket knife. Normally that shouldn't happen unless you have a poor print. All right, now we'll just plug it in. Now, let's unpack our pins here. We need these. So now we're going to attach the pins to the cables. it doesn't really matter which way around it is. It works either way. If you want to make these particular pins yourself, you can take a long, narrow strip of material like this one and simply, with a firm grip, pull out a single pin using a pair of sturdy pliers. Then bend it in the middle. In this case, they're a bit too long. Different sizes work, but they shouldn't be too long. Here, I'm using ones where you can break them off or pull them out. There are different sizes available, but too long is not good. You might have to shorten them again. But it would also work with longer ones, as you can see here. There we go. Now it's best to double check that the colors match. And here, to make sure the cable routing looks nice, we can pull it a bit like this. Just like that. And if that looks good and appears to be in proper working order, we will thoroughly test it at least once before we carefully put the case back on the device. Especially the QR code scanner, to make sure everything works and we don't have to open the case again later. For that, we'll go to Import Recovery Phrase, scan QR code, and check if it works. If the light comes on, everything is fine. If it doesn't, just try again. Unplug it, plug it back in, and do everything slowly once more. So enter the pin code slowly, take your time, and normally it should work. If not, then you'll need to check the cables here again as well to make sure everything fits. But what we're going to do now is attach our case. To do that, we'll first remove the protective film and put our cover on. It's important here, the mini USB is on top and will be closed off here, and the micro USB fits in at the bottom. Exactly, again. A bit of gentle force so that it's really in place. How well this works can vary from case to case since the size is measured very precisely. And sometimes you might have to press a bit harder. So now it's mostly in. This one corner isn't quite perfect yet. You'll need to apply a bit more pressure from above there. There, now it's in perfectly. Now we'll put the lid on. As you can see, we don't need any screws. We can just snap it on. Make sure the QR code scanner can stick out here. There we go. Press it down, our Specter DIY in our case, and now we'll test it again. So now we've really assembled our own Bitcoin-only hardware wallet from Standard Electronics. And here's a little tip. If you want to use an SD card, you can just insert it now. It's useful for upgrades or certain features. But you shouldn't use one that's larger than 32 GB. If you want to know how to best use the device, check out all the tutorials I've made. You'll find a playlist with all the videos right here. Over here, you'll find a video where I recommend which wallet setups to use with the Specter DIY, specifically the pure Specter DIY without a secure element. And down here, you'll find a video on how to use the Specter DIY with the Link It with Sparrow wallet. And from there, you'll always be directed to other relevant videos whenever you want to use your Specter DIY. I've also meticulously organized and comprehensively listed all the valuable tutorials once again on my dedicated website, ClavaStack, for your easy access and reference. I'll also put the link for you down in the video description.